Hello everyone, Tom Lowe here, the developer of Freeflight Experience, VR hang gliding simulator. The last few weeks I've been working on adding capability to simulate XC racing competitions like the Forbes Flatland or various other comps around the country. These can either be foot launch or they can be toe launch comps. So the process essentially involves first uploading a task file to the simulator, and you can build those task files using various free applications available for your cell phone or your flight deck. So what we're going to do here is we're going to start off by simulating a recent task at the Forbes meet. So you'll notice in your Freeflight Experience, that is the TFFE2 folder, which is under Users, Your Name, App Data, Local, TFFE2. There's a folder called Tasks, and in that folder, you'll see we have a number of different sites, and each one will have some predefined tasks for you, and you can add to those as well. So here we have the Forbes meet recently. We have a bunch of files that we're providing you, and among those files will be the task board for the first day. This is the day one, task one. So I'm going to walk you through setting up your flight computer, entering this particular task into your flight computer. So the flight computer of choice for Freeflight Experience is called XCSoar. So I'm going to go ahead and run XCSoar on my machine here, like this. And I'm going to click Fly and load my default. And I have, I've set up in our distribution folder the most compatible version, the most tested version of XCSoar, XCSoar 7, as well as the defaults that I use. So simply you need to just decompress the zip folder into your documents after you've installed XCSoar on your machine, and yours should work just like mine. So I'm going to use the profile default copy. It loads the airspace files, and this is the generic vanilla XCSoar. And you'll notice here I have maps loaded of the area around Forbes. I'm just using my mouse wheel to scroll up and down. So we're going to set up a brand new task. One of the first things that's important to do is to understand is in your configuration pages under System. If we look at the, I think it is the setup under time, we need to make sure that the UTC offset here is 10 hours. So positive 10 hours for Australia. And the first thing we're going to do is make sure that we have a waypoints, all the waypoints for the contest loaded. To do that, you just double click in the window. You go to Config, under System, Site Files here, and you'll see there's a spot to put your waypoints in, and you're going to want to put all the Forbes waypoints.cup. That's going to be the waypoint file we're going to use, and we're going to say Select. So now Forbes waypoint.cup is informed this program about where every waypoint by name is. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to set up the task. Again, double click, Nav, Task Manager, add a turn point, and we're going to do BMIA, OK. And we have two choices here. Looks like they're just duplicated, but we're going to just pick, don't think it really matters. We'll pick that first one. And notice that it has it's a cylinder with a radius of 1 kilometer. And I know here it says that we're going to use a 5 kilometer cylinder. We're going to come back and edit all of the turn points in a bit. The next turn point is called Young, Y-O-U-N-G. Okay. The next turn point is BARME. next turn point is Marsde, M-A-R-S-D-E. And then finally Henry. Okay. So now, notice that each of these came up with a default radius. I don't know why they're different, but we have 1 kilometer start, a ½ kilometer at Young, a ½ kilometer at Barmy, ½ kilometer at Marsde, and a ½ kilometer at Henry. Now we want to come back and edit each of those. So edit this point, and notice here, this is showing the launch. We're going to change the turn point radius to 5 kilometers. Good. The next turn point is Young. We want that to be 20 kilometers. The next one is Barmy, and it's another 20 kilometers. And the next one is Marsde, 10 kilometers. And finally, Henry at 1 kilometer. Okay. Start, close time, start, open time here. And the start is opens at 13:20. Okay. And close. Okay. And now you can see we have the entire flight path shown here on our map. So that's all we have to do in XCSoar to get the task entered. There is another thing to make XCSoar talk to Freeflight Experience. You'll need to set up your configuration for devices like this. You'll want this first line to be OpenVario on TCP client, and then on this, if you edit it, you're going to want to put the IP address of your own PC here. Other than that, that's all it should take. Okay, we close that. So the task is entered. We don't need that anymore. And next, we're going to go ahead and start up the simulator. Now I'm going to press the infinity button here, and that will reset my viewpoint properly. So in a few moments, we should show up here at the Streetside Cafe. Go ahead in your options. I'll show you how I have my options set. I have my Altair Racing Pod on. I have my T3 hang glider selected, and I'm using DLSS here. Cell phone flight computer needs to be checked so that on my pod I'll have the XCSoar. Other than that, it's pretty much the standards here. I'm going to turn off the thermal cycle. I turn my audio Vario down a bit so that the wind noise is actually more realistically loud compared to the Vario. Come back here. Now, right now, I'm going to find Forbes. There it is. We'll click on it. Okay, so here we are at Forbes. You'll notice on my flight computer, it actually shows my location there. And I'm going to go ahead and scroll up here to get a little bit larger view of the start circle. So here we are at the comp. And to begin with, we're going to need to tell the simulator about this task. So if I were to turn the helpers on right now, on and off, you'll notice there are no thermals, and there is no task showing. And the task would show up by seeing a wireframe or a start circle around me here. So to load the task first, we're going to go into the environment, adjust environment menu. Notice there's a new menu item called competition here. So we're going to go into the adjust environment window. And you'll notice here in the upper left, it says that the loaded XC task is none, and we're using the default atmospheric sounding. So we're going to go ahead and do that, although you could put the date of the competition there, load the atmospheric sounding, and then that would become the sounding that's used routinely from then on. Okay, and all the rest of these options are fine. So we're going to say load XC task, and as soon as I click this, the simulator freezes, and a window pops up, and we're going to pick the Forbes 2026 Day 1, Task 1, XC task, this one right here. There we go. So now you'll notice here it says loaded, and it shows that that is the task that has been loaded for the day. That's what we needed to do. We have no wind. We could set a little bit of breeze, but it doesn't really matter. We have no turbulence. We're just going to make this nice and simple to start with right now. Also, notice that it is almost 1 o'clock, and the start gate opens at 13:20, so 1:20 p.m. Return to the glider. So now, when I click the button A on my right controller here, the helpers on button, I can now see that we have a start circle. We can see some of the other turn point cylinders in the distance. And we notice here in the middle of the start circle is a legend. I'm going to go ahead into the site tour mode, and let's zoom up here. And now we can see here the extent of our 5-kilometer diameter start circle. And then off in the distance, the large cylinder is turn point 1, turn point 2, turn point 3, and then back across into the smaller cylinder for the final. And in each of the cylinders, in the center of the cylinder, you will find a legend that gives the turn point name and the distance remaining to get to the center of that turn point. And all of these cylinders go up, in this case, to 18,000 feet, although in Australia the limit is, I believe, 12,000. So that's the landing field. So let's zoom back to our glider, reposition to glider. But what is new is this new option here, and it says competition. So we click on this, and we get this new menu. And in this new menu, we're going to select how many other gliders we want to fly with. There's 19, I'll make it 20, even 20 gliders. And then what is the altitude that these gliders are going to be placed in the game initially? So the altitude is in meters, MSL. We're at 800 feet right now. So I would say that maybe at a couple thousand feet, so 1,800, a couple thousand feet above that. So around 2,800 feet would be a good altitude. That would be almost 3,000 feet or 1,000 meters. And we'll cluster all the gliders around 1,000 meters. So the highest gliders will be created at 1,041 meters. The lowest gliders will be created at 1,000 meters. And we say start competition. So now those gliders have been created. And how do we know? Well, if I go back to the aids button, you'll notice now that there's little teeny green circles that are dancing all around. And each one of those circumscribes a competitor. Okay, we don't need to see them for the time being. We're going to go ahead and tow ourselves up. Okay, here we go. No wind at all. And 2,000 feet. Okay, I'm off tow. So let's see where all these other pilots are. If I click the left button, now I can see all my turn points. And I also see all those green circles representing the other gliders in the competition. There's one of them. Well, that is pretty much how it starts. And now that the start gate is, let's see, it opened about 2 minutes ago. What I want to do is, you see on the upper left side of that Vario, there's an arrow. I'm going to turn a little to the right until that arrow is pointed straight up, like that. And now I'm on course for the point at which I should best exit. Now, if I was in this competition, I would certainly take this opportunity to climb some more. But I wanted to give you a little bit of an idea of how to use the Vario here. On the right side, I have a MacCready setting. I have an optimum speed to fly and my current speed. Going down the right side, my glide ratio, 8.3 right now with an average of 15.2. And on the left side, the direction to the next target, how far I am from the launch, my altitude barometric, my altitude above ground, and I think finally that bottom number, I forget what that is, what that one is. I think that's, no, don't remember. So I should be flying about 35. There we go. Heading toward the first waypoint. All right, that's how you set up the competition. Hope you enjoyed this little tutorial. A little bit long-winded, I understand, but hopefully that'll help you guys get going.